And we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Stadium Business Fridays, the webinar hosted by the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. This is the next installment of the webinar series that was started in 2010 in the middle of the pandemic. And the idea was to foster conversations, thought leadership sharing, knowledge sharing around topical issues affecting the sports and events industry. I actually believe that the topic today is one of the most significant and important affecting us right now. We're talking about the business of events, especially the road to recovery for the events industry. Now, many have said that COVID-19 has all but wiped out the economic contributions of the event industry, and it's expedited the unfortunate closure of so many eventing enterprises and businesses in SA. So the question now is, can the event industry and businesses ever recover? And this is what we're going to be unpacking today with a panel of experts. We're excited to host you. We're going to share some great insights. We're going to have a great discussion. And we're going to take into account some of the new learnings of COVID-19, what it's revealed to us, and how we can take our industry forward. My name is Ninel Musson. I'm the co-founder and COO of a creative entertainment agency called The Fifth Season. And operating in the music industry as an independent record label and talent management agency, I've seen firsthand the devastating impact of shows that are usually linked to music, concerts, touring that couldn't happen, brand events that artists would normally participate in. And so today, I'm so excited to be the moderator. And I'd like to introduce you to our great speakers that we have on board today to unpack this important conversation. All right, let's get started. Firstly, Kim Roberts. Kim is the chairperson of the South African Association for the Conference Industry, which is a professional association to promote sustainability within the business events industry in Southern Africa. And she's also the owner of a company called Maison Place, which I've probably mispronounced given I have no French backing. So apologies in advance, Kim. But welcome to today's conversation, Kim.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Brilliant. And we also have Kevan Jones, who's the Executive Director of the Southern African Communications Industry Association, which is a professional body active in the entertainment and communication space across Southern Africa. Welcome to today's discussion, Kevan.
Thanks, Ninel. Great to be here.
Awesome. And then Projeni Pather, sorry about that, who's the chairperson of the Association of the African Exhibition Organisers, AAXO, who is committed to promoting the industry, encouraging businesses to invest and participate in exhibitions, and Projeni is also the managing director of Exposure Marketing. Welcome to the conversation today. We're looking forward to your insights.
Thank you, Nana. Always a pleasure to see everybody again.
Yes. All right. And then finally, our host from the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium, who is represented by Phumulani Hlatswayo. Thank you for putting the conversation today together for this webinar. Phumulani is the HOD commercial at Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium and is in charge of ensuring the stadium's commercial success by developing and increasing different sources of commercial revenue. Thank you, Phumulani.
Thank you, Ninel. And yeah, I'm excited to see this panel because not only do I know of their passion towards the industry and their hard work that they've committed and they've shown. I'm very excited and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Good. So am I. I think just a few house rules for everybody that's joined us virtually. You'll see how this application works. There's a few tabs to the right of the screen. So next door to where you're seeing the pictures of the speaker images, there's a tab for chat, and that's where you can leave us any comments and feedback. The other tabs are for questions, polls, On the question tab, please leave us any questions that you'd like to pose directly to the panel. We'll try our best to incorporate it into the discussion today. Yeah, just leave us some questions there on that tab, and we'll try to check it throughout the discussion today. And then for those on social media, if you're on Twitter or Insta or Facebook, please, we encourage you to continue the conversation there. Leave us your comments and your feedback about some of the insights you've gained from today. You can use the hashtags, #OurStadium and #EventIndustry. So that's it from me, and I think we're pretty much ready to begin our discussion. One of the first questions that I'm wondering about is to you, Projeni. Can you tell us, how would you describe the current health of the exhibition sector in South Africa? Describe it to us.
Oh gosh, do we all have boxes of tissues at hand? Because it's quite depressing, let's be honest. It really is quite depressing. As we all know, it's been 20 months now without work. And it's really been tragic. And as much as I know that many companies have tried to innovate and reinvent themselves, it's just not at the same capacity that they were operating previously. We've seen a number of companies go into business rescue, a number of companies close their doors completely. Everybody had to retrench staff. And it's quite sad because there was lots of professional skills that we had gained over the years, and people that had been trained and have been really passionate about the industry that have no jobs currently. And the people that have stayed, that are within these companies, so they're operating on a skeleton structure, trying to do the most and reposition these companies with what they have. So it's a really sad state of affairs, and it can be very depressing for the industry as a whole. But what is so impressive, I must admit, is to see the optimism and to see this zest for life, because we're really passionate about what we do as an industry, because we all believe in the power of face-to-face. And I think that is wonderful to see, because whenever we have, whether it's an online session or whether it's a networking session in person, and to meet everybody that's been part of this industry that still wants to come out and see you and listen to their stories and listen to their passion, it is still there, because we know that face-to-face will never go away. So there will always be a place for us in the economy.
It's great to hear that despite the difficulties, we can still find some pockets of optimism within the professional industry. That's really great to hear, because it's important for next steps. Kim, can you tell us how, from your perspective, how has COVID reshaped the eventing industry for you?
Certainly in the business events sector, just reiterating what Projeni has mentioned as well, is that we've had a lot of people leave the industry. They've had to go and source alternative employment and really look for something that can bring bread and butter to the table. So from that perspective, it's really sad to see some of our industry stalwart and industry friends that have been with us in this journey for years, leaving the space, and in some instances leaving the country as well. And those impacts are going to be certainly in the short to medium term quite hectic for us and those that are here to deal with smaller teams delivering that level of excellence that South Africa as a destination has come to know from the business event space. What is really been great about I suppose the reshaping of the events industry is the establishment of the team that both Kevan and Projeni and ourselves are on the SA Events Council, in working collaboratively together. So I think that one of the highlights for me certainly is that I've never seen all of us work together as effectively and as efficiently in our history probably. And I really think that will be here to stay, because we've realized the benefits of collaboration. And along with that, understanding our own self-regulation and working together to form those new norms and standards that will impact us certainly probably forever. And I think we'll build on them. You know, what we've learned now is here to stay. And as we go forward, I'm sure we'll experience similar and other challenges that will require us to build on those foundations that we have done, I think, quite effectively in the last 18 to 20 months now.
That's amazing. I love that you mentioned collaboration, and that's very interesting. That's something we can definitely discuss today. Kevan, if I can move to you, what has the impact of COVID-19 been on the AV sector for you? What have the major changes been?
Oh, am I allowed to cry on screen? It's terrible. No, it's terrible. We did through the Events Council, and the final results are not in, but we shared some information the other day. I think before COVID, the company size, average company size of people in the events industry was between 5 and 25 people. Post-COVID, those organizations that have stayed have all shrunk down. And if I remember correctly, Projeni, just nod if I get this right, but actually average company size has shrunk to below 5 staff members, and companies have been dropping like flies left, right, and center. It's really difficult to determine what the impact of the industry is, because they haven't necessarily gone into liquidation. They've just closed their doors and shrunk down, so that all they are is a shell of what they were previously, and they've retained that shell structure so that they have the potential, the ability to open up once business opportunities present themselves again. And so they have faith, they have a belief that there will be business opportunities that present themselves. But across the board, certainly in the technical production sector of the audiovisual community, organizations are a shadow of their former selves. Many of them have made a transition to virtual events, but the reality is that it doesn't generate anything like the kind of the revenue streams that live events have done. And even those that are continuing to trade are working at a turnover level somewhere around 15% of what they had done in previous years. So it's truly been devastating, and I think the best analogy that I can give to you, and they say, when a fire burns through the forest, it creates an opportunity for new growth to emerge. The reality is that some of those old oak trees that existed in the forest, some of those big organizations that we all relied on to provide technical production and audiovisual content, they're not going to survive. There will be some that do, those that tower over the forest will revive themselves. But a lot of the old big trees are going to crash and burn. And there will be new opportunities for fresh growth to emerge. So it's not a total disaster, but for those trees that are in the forest and find themselves on fire, it's a terrible situation.
Definitely. Oh, thanks so much for those insights. I think you mentioned virtual, and that's definitely something we're going to pick up again to discuss in detail. But Phumulani, as a stadium, as an actual venue, after 2010, a lot of folks describe the white elephants of stadia, and the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium has managed to avoid that tag. How have you been able to navigate the impact of COVID over the last 18 months?
All right. No, thank you for the opportunity, Ninel. I think what we did during the hard lockdown was to focus on the stadium itself, the infrastructure. The stadium is over 10 years old, so you would expect some wear and tear here and there, so we focused on that, as well as improving some of the infrastructure, So basically what we've been doing since this thing hit was to prepare for the reopening, So we looked at things like digitalization, because we knew that things would never be quite the same ever again. Hence they refer to it as the new normal, So we digitalized the stadium. We made sure that we install LED screens in strategic areas within the stadium. We went back and looked at our brand as well and say our brand positioning. How do people perceive us? What do we want to project out there? So we looked at that. And then also what gave us a voice again was our humanitarian obligations, because we didn't just sit down and say, okay, we'll wait. We looked at the orphanages, that we work with to see how we can help during this pandemic. That gave us a voice again. So we were always out there on our social media, and other types of media, So I think for us, we used that time, the lockdown, to sort of fix ourselves, upgraded our website, refreshed our social media strategy, and then post the hard lockdown, what we did was, okay, what can we do, during this period? We've had the infrastructure now, we are digital, what can we do? So the first thing was hybrid events, so where we have a limited number on site, as per the regulations, and then the rest of the event, we've done quite a bit, but we'll go into that later into detail. But I mean, we've hosted a lot of things during this period, like the COSAFA championship, so to us was to remain out there, not to be forgotten.
Right.
Because then when
That's
things
brilliant.
open up, then we don't have to start afresh. So we use that opportunity to really fix ourselves and prepare for the future.
Thanks, Phumulani. We've lost your video feed. You are still audible and your audio is coming through, but just to check the video feed from your side, please.
Okay.
But the list of activities that you've listed are just so inspiring. I mean, to have that response in the midst of the pandemic. And I know a lot of the speakers on the panel have tried to, have made several proposals. For example, Projeni, I know that you spoke recently in a media interview with EENCA, and you were speaking about the proposal that you made to government and policymakers to include exhibitions in the broader definition of events and to make some changes there. Can you unpack that for our audience and let us know if there have been any engagements since then, any feedback, will changes be made from a policy point of view?
We certainly hope so. I think every attempt that we all make with government and every connection that we make and every person that we meet in government, we are chewing their ear off, believe me. We are making, I think the industry is misunderstood a great deal. And I think the entire country has bundled us up into one big pot. And that's where the problem lies. Because as similar as we are, every event that we host has different purposes, in the economy, whether it's recreational or business perspective. So there's different types of events, and government doesn't see it that way. And by not individualizing these pockets, unfortunately, the ecosystem of the event industry, which is all the suppliers to the industry, from catering to security to technical to cleaning, they service all these events, right? Irrespective of what kind of event they are, they can service any of us. But by bundling us up all together and not allowing any one of these sectors to open within the bigger sector, impedes the ecosystem, right? So if, for example, smaller business conferences were able to happen at a larger number, they need technical production, they need catering, they need cleaning. So those kind of companies that were previously only supplying larger scale events would still have work, would still be able to sustain themselves, would still be able to operate. But now the mass stop on all events impedes the industry as a whole. So what we try to do as AAXO and EXA, we approach government to make them understand what exhibitions are all about. Because even that, you know, if you ask the general public, people will say, what is an exhibition? And immediately the first come to mind is an art exhibition, you know, going and viewing art and sculptures, because, I mean, if you chat to people, that's what they think about, you know. But if you said a trade show or a show like a RAM show, for example, or a Decorex, they don't understand that the two correlate, that the word exhibition and that event correlates, you see. So there's a lot of education to be done, and we often market and we promote ourselves, and the point of us all as associations is obviously, one is to be able to try and educate everybody to make them understand the purpose of the exhibitions and events we hold, and government particularly. So our proposal has tried to break down what the purpose of an exhibition is, because ultimately it is a marketplace. It is like you going to a macro or a mall. So it's a marketplace where buyers and sellers come together, okay, and they do business. They sell to each other. It's not a conglomeration of like thousands of people at any given point in time. There's a flow of people that happen over a few days, because most exhibitions happen over a few days. It's not at one given time, and it's over the entire day. So there's a flow of people like you'd go into shopping mall. So we're trying to explain to government, you know, because if I said, for example, I host a baby exhibition, and I have 30,000 people that attend my event, but those 30,000 people are not coming to see me within 2 hours from on a Friday from 8 to 10 in the morning. They're coming from a Thursday to a Sunday. Okay, and the show is open from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening. So once you break down that structure, and then in addition to that, it happens in a venue that's 10,000 square meters of floor space, right? So that is spreading it quite wide, right? So those are the nuggets that we're trying to explain to government. That is not a gathering. Right.
Yeah, I mean, socially distancing was possible.
Exactly. That is not a gathering. You know, those people are coming to my big pop-up shop to buy products and services from retailers, from suppliers of products and services. That's what it is. And they market their products, they're able to create brand awareness. So those are the nuggets that we're trying to do. Yes, we've had great negotiations with government. No, sorry, we don't. You know, I don't think you ever negotiate with government. You discuss. Yeah, right, Kevin? We've
had great discussions.
There's no negotiations. But you try and explain, and you try to detail, and you try to motivate, and as much as possible, and make them understand the detail of your business, the detail of the industry. And we've had good discussions, and it's the furthest that we've ever been. And we hope that we will see some results soon. I think the lifting of the capacities to 250 already does make a difference, because there will be some trade events that would be able to happen under those capacities. But what we're proposing is we don't want to get stuck on a number, because numbers are restrictive. Because, like I said again, you know, 250 people in 10,000 square meters, right? Whereas 250 people maybe in 1,000 square meters you possibly can do. So it's that kind of information, and that we need to get through to government to show them that there's different sizes of venues, there's different types of events, those kind of things. So that is part of our proposal, and we believe that we are making good headway.
That's brilliant. That's great to hear that progress is being made. And I wanted to ask you, Kim, if you had any comments on that, because I know that your organization has also been sending proposals and having discussions with various stakeholders, including government. And you were specifically discussing a phased approach to opening up, right? Do you have any comments on that, Kim?
Yes, thank you. I think the real importance here is just making sure that everybody understands, and the interest in us having those conversations with government has been paramount to this, because there just isn't an understanding of this industry, and that has been one of the greatest challenges that I think that we have faced here. And so getting this phased approach together and getting a phased opening has being able to get us into a position to build confidence. And ultimately, that's really what we want to do. We need to build confidence, not just within the government sector, but again, now within the corporate space, to get people out, to get people attending events, both business events, exhibitions, trade shows, rugby matches, football matches. We want them to be there in person. And in order for us to do that, we, as an association, we started right from the beginning with the proof of concept events, with the Startup Expo that we worked on. We held our AGM last year as a hybrid and continued this year with our conference as a hybrid. And these were important milestones for us to use as examples to apply those safety processes and protocols that have been put in place and continue our messaging on building for 50% capacity. Ultimately, we would all like to go back to the way we were, and I really hope that one day we can get there. But we really need to work on that phased approach. I'm delighted that we've gone to 250, but as Projeni correctly said, it doesn't work in a venue that's 10,000 square meters of space. It's not a feasible business model. So it is really important for us to get to that 50% and then hopefully 70% or 75%, and then ultimately we can get to a place where it's level 0. We will be back to normal. So yeah, just from SAACI's perspective, yes, definitely now we're up for 50% capacity, and we are certainly up to build confidence, and that's throughout this and throughout the space, from the private, public, and the government sectors. Thank you.
Great, Kim. That's great to hear. And Kevan, I wondered if do you also want to comment on that in terms of from the AV side? What adjustments does the sector need to make in order to now revive business?
So before I talk about it from an AV perspective,
Kevan?
Yep, I'm here.
All right.
So before I talk about
we're having a bit of a connection challenge with Kevan.
Oh, are we?
We can hear him in an hour.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Sorry, it's just on my side. Great.
Okay. So before I talk about it from an AV perspective, I think there are a couple of things that both Projeni and Kim said that I want to expand upon, if you don't mind. So one of the comments that Projeni made revolved around the fact that government wants to put all events into the same boat, and develop a set of safety protocols that will allow us to host events in volume safely. And so one of the challenges that we've had is to say, how do we make that happen? You know, how do we bring all events back to capacity? And in order to do that, we've put together, along with the organizations active within the South African Events Council, a committee that has actively engaged with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and many other government departments. And over the last perhaps 8 weeks, we've had in-depth meetings with NEDLAC, with NatJoints, with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, with the Department of Health, with the Department of Labour. And across all of those, we've been consistent in presenting event safety protocols that, in fact, we published on behalf of the Event Council probably more than a year ago now. We updated those protocols when we were doing some work with SASCOC earlier in the year, and the last submissions that we made to government were made on behalf of organised industry that included all of the sporting bodies within SASCOC. It included the events forum, so you know, all of the big venues, FNB Stadium, Emirates, whatever Ellis Park is called nowadays, but probably Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium as well. We work very closely with the entertainment industry, the music industry in particular, SAMIC, the South African Music Industry Council, SAMPA, the Music Promoters Association, TUMSA, the Trade Union for Musicians, TADA, the Theatre and Dance Alliance, many, probably more than 100 different associations, all came together and presented a unified submission to government to reopen the events industry with very strict safety protocols in place, broad enough to allow each event to develop a safety and security plan that was specific to their event and the venue at which it's being hosted, but defined clearly enough to ensure that there was an active commitment to safety. So for a large event taking place at a venue, the event organizer would need to put together an event safety and security plan that was submitted to the provincial SAP's office. We would automatically require that every event has a medium risk categorization issued by the SAPs, and then the event organizer would work with the city JOC to determine what safety protocols would need to be in place. We've seen in many conversations with government recently the message that if people get vaccinated, they can return to events. So in the music industry, you have a program that they're promoting. That was strange. In the music industry, you have a program that they're promoting called Jab and Jive, which I thought was a marvelous description. And in the sport industry, they're talking about return to play. The event industry may have a similar description. I don't know what it is, but I think that there is a wide acceptance of the reality that if you want to return to gatherings where there are more than 250 people indoors or 500 people outdoors, there will probably be a requirement that all of the delegates that attend will have to be vaccinated. And I think that that's a reality that event organizers will need to accept. And of course, it has implications for them. How do they go about ensuring that the spectators that come to the event have been vaccinated? There'll need to be some fundamental changes in the way that events are organized, and a fundamental change in the way that people behave. And I think that this is important because we're not, when we're talking about events, Projeni will talk about it in terms of an exhibition, and Kim will talk about it in terms of a business conference, and Pums will talk about it in terms of a large sporting event or a music festival that's taking place. I don't know what's the capacity, Pums, of the NMB Stadium. Probably around 50,000 people. Your microphone's off.
Oh, Pums, you're on mute.
All right, sorry about that. I'm saying the capacity is 46,000, Kevin, but we keep it at 42,000 for safety.
Okay, so there's no way that you could have 42,000 people going into a stadium tomorrow and still create a safe environment for all of the delegates. So we need to have this phased approach. We need to have rigid safety protocols that are applied to the spectators that are participating. But we need to be sensible about the way that we impose these upon sporting fans or music fans or who, because if we make it too rigid, then nobody's going to bother turning up. We also need to be very aware that there's a great deal of reticence amongst audiences. I've been to events recently, and I've kind of walked into the venue and there'll be 10, 20, 30 people there. Actually, my expectation would be that there would be way more. Why don't people go to events when they have the opportunity to do so? Because they're fearful. And again, that's something that we need to address. How do we overcome that reticence about attending an event? I didn't talk about AV at all. I could probably do so, but I think it's somebody else's turn to talk.
You gave us so many other important considerations.
Yeah, sorry, Ninel, if you don't mind me adding there, I think what Kevin is saying is also, in terms of, it's sad that we're not going to be able to fill up your stadium with 42,000 people, and we don't know when. But then when we all look at sporting internationally, and we look at the soccer, that's on right now, to playing to stadiums that are full to capacity. I'm sure you're jealous, Phums, right? When you look at that, it is full to capacity. People are not wearing masks, and everybody is just having a wonderful, wonderful time. And that's because they have vaccinated a large part of their population. So the reality is, as an event industry, we need to promote the message as well and ensure that our industry is vaccinated and that our industry spreads the message, because that is crucial to our reopening. For us to get back to fill up that stadium with 42,000 people, the only way we're going to do that is if we can get South Africa up vaccinated. What is it? Up to 70% that we're aiming for, right? So that is crucial. And as all of us are ambassadors to this industry, no matter what position you have within your organization, it is your responsibility to educate every single person around you, to educate them about the vaccine so that we can vaccinate the South African population as soon as possible.
Thank you. And I was wondering, Phumulani, speaking from that point of view about some of these international stadiums we've seen for sporting events that are full, what are some of the approaches right now for Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium?
All right. I think it's important to note that, not enough can be said about health and safety compliance. So a lot of education has to go behind that. We need to educate our spectators, because we're used to the chaos that happens, on a soccer match day, so we have to start with education, as well as making sure that our ticketing systems are in place and are compliant, because you can't have long queues anymore, so we have to teach people that you need to get your ticket way in advance, safely so. And then you just walk into the stadium. I've been to soccer matches all around South Africa, and I think I've never seen so much late coming than I have since I've been here. So it's a message we've been trying to push, to say, at halftime there's still a queue, then there's a problem. So how do you change the mindset? When it comes to sitting at the stadium, soccer fans are used to just sitting anyway, where else in Europe, like Projeni has mentioned now, it's a different system altogether. People are used to a system that you get a ticket with a seat number, and that's where you sit. So those are all of the challenges that we're facing and that we need to start addressing now. So the ticketing system has to be compliant, and the people have to follow the procedures that have been, communicated out there. So yeah, it's a big challenge, but I think we'll get there.
Okay, great.
Can I just jump in on the ticketing issue?
As you say, there's a lot of changes to expectations from all of the different stakeholders, including the fan and the event goer. To anybody in the audience, if you have any questions for us, please drop them into the questions tab. And we will try to include them in the discussion. And then just a quick check on everybody for audio. Kim, Kevin, Projeni, everybody good? Okay.
Okay, so I had a question. I just wanted to expand on the.
One of the things that came up in our when we were unpacking our previous question was.
No, sorry.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether you can hear Kevin. Maybe you're not hearing Kevin. I think he wants to ask a question. You can hear me, right?
I can absolutely hear you, Projeni and Kim. No, Kevin, apologies.
Oh, okay.
No, Kevin, please go ahead and ask.
I think it's inappropriate air.
I was just going to expand on what Phums was saying about
Kevin,
ticketing.
Please go ahead, and then we'll go on and speak about virtual after that.
So I did.
Okay, I'm going to be the conduit, Kevin. Now he's going to speak now. Sorry, it doesn't seem like you can hear him, but let's go for it, Kevin.
So I was just going to expand on what Phumulani was saying in relation to tickets. So of course, this is not the first time that we've had to make a transition to an enhanced ticketing system. When the FIFA 2010 World Cup took place, there was allocated seating for sporting events and for the football in particular. So it's not that we have to fundamentally change the way that things are done, because we have done it this way before. We just need to re-establish some discipline amongst sports fans so that they understand that they have to do things slightly differently. But about the ticketing systems is that, you know, previously you would turn up at the ticket office, you would hand over your money, they would give you a ticket, but actually there was no requirement to capture information about who you were. And one of the things that will now have to change is that when you buy your ticket well in advance, as Phumulani said, the ticket needs to be sold to an individual that can be tracked and that can be compared against the vaccinated persons database that is maintained by the government, so that they know not only who's going, you know, the event organizers need to know who's coming to the event, where they're going to be sitting, who they are, and whether they have been vaccinated or not. One of the other challenges that we have, and I'm sure that this is part of the reason that larger attendance at sporting events has not already started opening up, is the issue with fraud in relation to the vaccination certificates that have been issued. Until such time as we have a digital vaccination certificate that is fraud proof, it's very unlikely that we're not going to be able to go back to an environment where you can have large crowds, large number of people participating in any kind of event, whether it's a sporting event or whether it's any other kind of event. So the digital vaccination certificate is absolutely critical to the rollout of larger attendance at any kind of event, and it is on track. You know, the Department of Health has made several announcements about the rollout of digital vaccine certificates in the last, probably in the last 10 days. And so we have every expectation that this is something that will be in place within the next 2 weeks. I hope you can hear me now. But perhaps not.
Great, Kevan. Yes, those digital passports that we've been hearing about in other countries, I'm glad to hear that you've got some insights that it's on track and we'll soon have it. Yes, one of the questions, virtual, digital events. We've spoken about a little bit about hybrid events. How, maybe just let's speak, Projeni, maybe you first want to speak from an exhibition point of view.
I'm going to hand this one over to Kim, because she's been in the thick of things. I know she's going to talk from experience right here first.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. I just want to hear about, you know, there were so many that tried, and I think there was a lot that came from it. How much of that will still remain? And can you speak about how commercially viable they can be for the event industry?
Sure. Thanks for the hand back of that one, Projeni.
I'm going to jump in at the end. Don't worry, I promise.
Digital events, or I'd prefer to use the word hybrid, is definitely part of the future, and it's definitely here to stay. One of the challenges that I think we all fell into in the initial stages of moving into this digital world was that because we were so scared and there was this great unknown, everybody just made their events for free, which was like committing suicide before you'd even started. And now to try and recover from that has been a whole new type of challenge, because what goes into producing a hybrid event actually requires a huge amount of skill, and the importance of all the partners from those on site and AV is critical in that kind of production. One of the things that I think is a real positive about it, and I think this applies specifically, not specifically to South Africa, but to Africa as a whole, is it's the amount of much more inclusion that we've got. So parties that would never have gone to a major hub for an event or a show now have that opportunity to purchase a ticket and attend an event virtually. They might have not been able to from a funding perspective, a disabilities perspective. They live in a remote place. The cost is just too high. I mean, there's 1,000 reasons why people don't attend. Unable to attend an event that they otherwise would have liked to. So from that point of view, I think that there's a lot of value to have that additional accessibility. As far as the pricing model is concerned, I mean, this is something that I think a lot of people are still learning about. Hybrid is very much twofold, and it's the on-site component is where that face-to-face that Projeni mentioned right in the very beginning is so important, and there's so much value to that. And those individuals that are going to attend those face-to-face events are going to pay a premium for that experience. And that is going to be where the magic is happening. Your virtual event, it shouldn't really be just carrying the virtual component, shouldn't really be covering all the technical and the audio costs either. But there is a cost to deliver that solution to those attendees. So again, free, it can't be free. So we are going to learn, and we're all going to continue to improve on how we deliver those hybrid solutions out to the market. But it was a blessing in many ways, having the pandemic, okay, not from the loss of lives and loss of businesses and those things that we are all very aware of, and has been devastating. And as Kevan said, we will shed not one but 100 tears for friends in the industry. But it was good for industry, business that's here to embrace technology, because we were too complacent with, we'll have an event, we'll open the doors and people will come. We were, it was like, open your arms. And we've had to change our strategies, change our activities, and really focus on what we're doing, how we're delivering it, and what is in the content for the end user. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Projeni, but I think that sort of sums my view, or our view as an association.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we've learned so much about digital as we took every webinar that we did, every hybrid event that we did. We've learned about it, and I think we're so au fait with on-site stuff. We have plan B, C, D, E as event organizers. So we know how to manage that. But online, when you're sitting behind a computer and you can't see the people in your audience, you feel like your hands are tied and you're relying on your technical team. I mean, if it was at the event, I'd be standing behind that technical crew. I can promise you that. Right? And, I'd have somebody to speak to, and tell me what is going on. How are we going to change this? How can we make it better? But when you have such a short online space of time to capture an audience or to lose an audience, you can lose an audience very quickly. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the dynamics that we're dealing with. And of course, the connectivity in Africa as a whole is a challenge, right? We know that. It's not like the rest of the world. So you still get that connectivity problem in terms of people joining meetings and stuff like that. And most meetings are generally most successful if you've met somebody before. You can have it when you see them online, it's like, yeah, this is your friend, you know this person, you've met them before, you can carry on a conversation. But starting a new relationship online, as popular as dating sites might be, is quite challenging, I think, and takes a lot more time to build up the romance, right, than meeting somebody face to face. So those are the challenges. And I think, like we said, hybrid, yes, we know. We knew it was coming in about 30 years from now, probably. We never thought it would come this soon. But now that it's here, as event organizers, we're always ready to embrace anything that is thrown at us, and we have embraced it, and we will embrace it. And we know now, we have all of a sudden become aware of a large number of technical service providers that provide these kind of platforms that we never knew existed before. And we hope that it will become more affordable as well, because from a pricing perspective, Financially, it is not feasible at this point in time because these platforms are exorbitantly expensive. From an exhibition perspective, our exhibitors, when they're buying an online stand from us, they're not expecting to pay the same price that they'd pay for a real-time stand. So already we had a disadvantage. So trying to prove that return on investment, the reach, the engagement online versus what they had previously before, because they're always comparing, those are the challenges that we have to work around and reconfigure our packages and our sponsorship packages and all of those kind of things that we normally offer our clients. Because our clients, when they invest in us, they always want to know what is the return on investment? How many people are they going to reach? How many people are going to engage? How many items are they going to sell? You know, how many meetings they're going to have? Those are the questions. And we need to be able to provide those solutions. And we also, there's a lot of education that has to happen with our clients that we do business with when we're going into this environment. We have to learn at a much more faster rate than anybody else, and we will, because we know we have the skills to, but it's now about educating the clients, our other industry sectors about how we're going to do this.
Right. Projeni, I love the way you said that. The pandemic made us leap 30 years ahead to embrace technology. And it's great to hear that hybrid events is a great version of them that's here to stay. From a technical point of view, because they came out, I wonder if, Kevan, you'd like to comment. And then Phumulani, you mentioned hybrid events at Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. So I'd love for you to share more about that. Kevan, shall we go to you next?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a practical example. We have affiliate agreements with several international associations. One of the bodies that we work very closely with internationally is an organization called the International Federation of Television Archivists. So our association has many different footprints, and the broadcast industry is one of them. We're a bit of an octopus. So we're very active in the broadcast industry, and we work with IFTAR, the International Federation of Television Archivists. They have an annual congress that moves around the world. And for 2021, we won the bid to host their annual conference, and we were expecting around 250 international visitors to descend on Cape Town in October, so that we could host the annual Fiat IFTAR annual conference. Well, then COVID came along.
I think we might have lost Kevan now.
Okay, I was worried.
Lost him now, Ninel, not just you.
It's not just me. All right, Kevan, we're gonna pop back to you. Something that worked for me was just doing a quick refresh. But Phumulani, please tell us about the hybrid events that have been hosted in Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium and what's maybe being planned or coming up. And to anybody in the audience, if you have any questions, you've still got a couple of minutes to ask the panel. Otherwise, please share on social media, and we will try to get that feedback too.
Okay. From our perspective, like I said initially, that it's been a process of preparing for the new normal. Because like everybody agrees, like hybrid is the way forward, So what we did, we used this period and hosted a number of hybrid events just to test our capabilities. We'll talk about the revenue generated much later, but for now, it was about making sure that we're ready. So we've hosted, I think, 2 or 3 comedy shows, hybrid, where we had a limited number of audience at the stadium, and the rest was virtual. So it was a comedy show. The Women in Arts music festival. We've got a few planned for the upcoming months. Like there's a big music concert that we were planning for December. So I mean, if you look at our social media platforms, you'll see that we've been doing these things, and we're comfortable, that at the right time when we can have, a substantial number of people at the venue, we still maintain the hybrid element. Because like Projeni has mentioned that some people make it to the venue for various reasons, so we can't exclude them, so that's a lesson learned, like now I support Manchester United. I can't be at Old Trafford, but I can watch them on TV, so it's that type of mentality. So I think we as a stadium, I think we're the first, and I think we're doing quite well, because like I'm saying, for us, remember our positioning is that we're not just about soccer and rugby as perceived, but we are a multi-purpose event facility, so we host all types of events, like comedy, weddings, all of those events, so that's been the key driver for us to say, let's keep hosting these different types of events, let's show people that we're capable, so we are very excited that we on the same par as the leaders, within the digital space, to say we're here, if you want to use us, like event organizers, we host exhibitions, we do all sorts of things, so for us going forward, I think we'll keep to our hybrid event strategy, as well as try to collaborate more with associations, like AAXO, SACIA, all of those guys, to say, guys, we're here, use us, expose us to your members, because we want to attract as many feet as possible. So that's where we are at this stage.
Brilliant. So collaboration on this very platform with our speakers and you, Phumulani. Kevan, thanks. We need to have you back. You're in the middle of something super significant. Please finish that for us, and so, we'll come back.
So I hope I am back. Somebody wave if they can hear me. Oh, there you go. Okay. So I think where I was in my story was that essentially what we realized that we couldn't run a live event for all sorts of reasons, primarily because the majority of the visitors that were expected to come were coming in from Europe. The last thing they wanted to do is to get into a situation where, having attended a conference in South Africa, they then had to quarantine for 2 weeks before they could get into their home country. So that was a big issue for the potential delegates. So we transitioned from a live event to a hybrid event, and then we continued to experience problems with audience numbers. And so then we made this transition to a completely virtual event. Now, the biggest challenge that we had is that last year, the same organization ran their event as a virtual event at no cost. And they funded it themselves. So this goes back to what Kim was saying earlier. Now we're in a situation where we're saying we're going to be running a virtual event and you have to pay to attend. You won't believe the pushback that we get from people who simply say, well, no, I attended last year and it was free and it was pretty good, but why should I pay? I think that we shot us as an industry, we shot ourselves in the foot. And so I think the reality is that if we're going to host virtual events going forward, we need to ensure that we deliver a participant experience that is fundamentally different to that they would have experienced in the past. And perhaps what we need to do is to build in kind of collaborative elements. We're still experimenting, so I don't have all of the answers here. But the truth is that, getting people to pay money to participate in a virtual event, getting them to allocate, when I go to an exhibition or a conference, I attend a lot of conferences, and I'm very happy to go to an association leadership conference, and I'm there for 3 days, and I participate in different sessions on each of the 3 days, and I go to cocktail parties and I meet people. It's a marvelous experience. I absolutely encourage everybody in association leadership to go to these events. But there's no way that I'm going to sit in a virtual environment for 8 hours for 3 days in a row. I think you just go crazy. And so actually, I don't think that you can do this direct comparison. Is it virtual or live? The two are fundamentally different. The experience of participating is fundamentally different. I would be very happy if the 5 of us were sitting in we could sit around a table and we'd chat, and we would be able to go on like this all day. we would be entertained, and probably so would anybody watching us. They might think we were a bit nutty, but they would enjoy the experience. But this session runs for 90 minutes. I hope that people will stick around for the full 90 minutes. But guess what? If it had to go on for 3 hours, we would have nobody would stick around for that length of time. So it's not one or the other. It's a fundamentally different experience, and particularly when you got 5 people on a little screen chatting with each other. We all drop off every now and again because our signal drops or something goes wrong. It's just not an acceptable form of communication. It can't be sustained on a long-term basis. It's great as an interim measure, but it does not solve the challenges that people have to engage and communicate with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, that makes sense, Kevin. And when you think about, just getting back to the road to recovery, what needs to happen next, those are some great insights we've just discussed about how to make it both virtual with a live experience and with audience participation and creating more of a experience for audiences. Any other final words on the road to recovery for the event sector as we wrap up this particular panel, virtual panel?
I would like to add a final word. I think that from all of us as industry stakeholders, to build the space back out to what it was, it's really up to the individuals within our associations and for us to communicate, to get back to the place of us working together to build confidence to what we had before, or the new normal, the new world of what that is. I mean, everybody says this new normal, and I know it's like an overused word, but our new world of the business events and social events space, or is really about us all taking responsibility in that building of confidence and getting people vaccinated. That's me.
Thank you, Kim. Yes, I agree. And Projeni, what do you think needs to be, just as a final wrap up, the road to recovery, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Kim more. I mean, communication is key. And I think at times like this, when everything, you feel so despondent, everybody just wants to just go and hide under a rock, right? Till the world comes back online again. But if we all did that, we'd get nowhere and we'd never reopen this industry. So we've got to make our presence felt as an industry, because we're not going anywhere. When we open, we will open in full force. So at that point in time, as a company within this industry, will your clients still know who you are, what you do, and that you are still around, and that you were once their preferred supplier? So if you don't communicate with them now, whether it's sending them an email, picking up the phone, WhatsApping for business is so popular these days, nobody's minding, even though it was once a personal space. But, dropping them a WhatsApp to just check in on them. You had great relationships. We all are people's people. That's the industry. So we have those connections. Don't lose those connections. Communicate with those people, whether it's your company communication or on a one-on-one basis. Make sure you communicate so that people know that you are still around, you're still open for business, you're still open to work. That is really, really important. Secondly, now more than ever, we realized how important associations are. I mean, we've all been in that boat where I don't want to be part of an association. I mean, what does the association do for me? That's been the general thing. But right now, I can tell you that all your associations are working so very hard for you. Despite each of us having our own businesses to tend to, our own lives to tend to, we're putting this industry first, and we're putting our best foot forward for you. So we need your support. You have to share your association's messaging. Follow them on social media, sign up to their newsletters. Even if you're not part of an association right now, nobody's going to stop you from signing up to any of our associations and getting their communication so you know what is happening, so that you're on top of the game and you're ready for that reopening. Right now, the more people we have supporting the associations, the more people we have lending their voice will help us to open the industry. That's how you can open. We often get that question is, how can I help? How can I want to be part of the South African Event Council. But the only way to be part of the South African Events Council is to support one of the associations that are part of that collective. And how do you support that association? Join up, find out more about them, follow them, communicate with them. And when you can afford to, maybe you can be part of that association and have your voice heard. We want to hear you. It's not just our voices that are important. There's so many people that have really, really good ideas, and send them our way. We can take that forward, and we want to hear you. And the last thing is professional development. I know that between SACIA, SAACI, AAXO, we're all offering people the opportunity to develop themselves professionally. If this is a quiet time for you, this is the perfect time to upgrade your skills. No matter how old you are or how long you've been in this industry, we know how dynamic this world is. And you've got to keep on track in terms of what changes are coming up so that you are on target. You've got your game plan, you know what to prepare yourself for. So go on to these associations again, look at the professional development that they're offering you. Very often it's either at a minimal cost or no cost at all. All of these webinars, all of the masterclasses that are coming up, you will learn something all the time. I know at AAXO we have and I know SAACI has it as well, in terms of youth development. We're all very into that, to developing the youth. We have a mentorship program as well on the AAXO website. We've got really great leaders in the industry that are offering their services to mentor the youth and young professionals in our industry. So why not take advantage of that proposition so that you are ready to get back to business when we open for business? You've learned, you've empowered yourself. Don't hide under that rock. Now's the time to strengthen yourself, your organization, and your relationships.
Brilliant. Thank you, Projeni, and thank you for, I think, just underpinning how important it is that we work together, and the important role of what these professional associations can play within the industry and the recovery of our industry. Phumulani, I just want to hand back to you for some final thoughts and words on our discussion today.
Oh yeah, I think I'd like to point out that, just like Projeni and them are doing, we also as the stadium have a youth development program, that we started last year in June, which is called Youth in the Bay. And we've just launched another one now in October called Change the Rhythm. So what we do there is educate people like the youth on business and other life skills, as well as get them a mentorship, people to mentor them through their journey, so we're doing quite a lot. And if you don't know, on the 28th of October last year, we launched our stadium app. It's Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. So please download it, interact with us. Also, on the 26th of May this year, we launched our sports museum. So I just want to put it out there that there's lots that you can do with us at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. Over and above that, I'd like to thank all of you guys for participating. I think it's been really insightful. I've learned quite a bit, and I'm eager to contribute towards the revival of our industry.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Phumulani, for those final words and for bringing this panel together. Thank you for activating the chat. And Dilly, you had some great questions there. And Kevan Jones, thanks for picking those out. Those were hard questions. Thanks for fielding them on our chat function. And we're probably going to have a couple more questions and feedback on social media. So please use those hashtags. Hashtag event industry, hashtag stadium, and also, sorry, actually it was, yeah, that's fine, hashtag event industry. We're gonna wrap up the discussion. I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. We have gone a few minutes over, but it was just so good, we couldn't stop right away. I just want to thank everybody that joined us today in the audience. I hope you took a lot from the conversation. I certainly gained some valuable insights from these great experts we managed to bring together. And there will be another Stadium Business Friday soon. It'll be announced with a new date and a new interesting topic. And there'll be several conversations coming up. So thank you for being part of the conversation, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you very much.
Sounds great. Thanks to everybody.
you.
Thank you very much. Great morning.